So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So good evening. Thank you all for being here tonight. I know how busy life can get, especially with everything going on today. And the fact that you took time out of your evening to show up to be a part of this shows how much you really care about this race in this community. So to start off, my name is William Compton. I'm a teacher, I'm a Democrat, and I'm running for Congress because I believe working people in this district deserve someone who's going to stand up and fight for them, not for corporate PACs, not for the lobbyists who are writing bills behind closed doors, but stand up for the people of the 2nd Congressional District. So I want to start by giving you a little bit of information about myself because I believe people running need to be able to tell their constituents about their life and give them the reasons why they're running. So I grew up in Rocky Hill, Kentucky, which if you don't know where Rocky Hill is on the Warren County, Evanston County line. It is as country, as rural as you can get. I would literally hear banjos outside of my door at night. It's country as you can get. So I grew up out there. My father, he did not wear a suit and tie to work. He was a self-employed businessman who did landscaping and parking lot cleaning. And he actually did some of the parking lots here in Owensboro before he passed away. My mother, she was a telemetry technician at Greenview Regional Hospital in Bowling Green, where she worked nights, weekends, holidays to take care of the people in Bowling Green and to make sure they had the care that they needed. They worked hard. They worked really hard. And there were times that we struggled. There were times that my sister and I would go to bed with nothing but a bologna sandwich and a cup of water. And my parents, nothing. But they taught me the respect that you need to give everybody. They taught me the hard work ethic that my father and mother had to keep things afloat for us. And I will always cherish those with me every single day. Now, my first job was at our local McDonald's in Smiths Grove. And I wore the uniform. I worked the front counter. I flipped the burgers in the back. And I learned something very valuable behind that counter. That no matter what, how you deal with the people determines the kind of day they're going to have. Treat them with respect, even when they don't treat it back to you. And that stuck with me all through college and all through my career as a teacher. I eventually became a teacher at Warren East High School. I'm entering my first decade of teaching. It's so weird to say that, first decade. And I entered teaching because I wanted to give back to my community. I wanted to help the next generation find their voice, and I wanted to help them find their power. But standing in front of those students every day, I began to feel something that I was not going to expect to feel, and that was frustration. Frustration at watching these bright young men and women fall through the cracks, told that they cannot do anything that they dreamed because of where they lived. And frustration at seeing their families having to skip doctor's appointments because of funds, or them having to skip trips at school because of lack of funds. So I decided that teaching wasn't going to be enough, and that I had to take the fight beyond the classroom into Congress. I'm running because families across the district deserve someone who represents them, who's lived the struggles, not just observed them from afar. Someone who's worked for minimum wage, paid rent on teachers' salaries, which we know is not a lie, and watched loved ones battle a broken healthcare system. I'm running because our rural hospitals are on the brink of shutting down, and Brett Guthrie is still working to cut the very funding that keeps them afloat. Because our schools are also underfunded, and Brett Guthrie keeps siding with corporate donors instead of our students. And because workers are doing more for less, and he's voted against every effort to raise the minimum wage, support our unions, and protect pensions. We need something better. We need a future where your zip code doesn't determine whether you can see a doctor, afford a home, or drink clean water. Because yes, there are counties in this district that have not had clean water in over 5 years. A future where teachers and nurses and small business owners, not hedge fund managers, get to shape the direction of our country. I'm fighting for affordable health care for every Kentuckian. No more rural hospital closures. No more life-saving prescriptions priced like luxury goods. Fighting for a stronger public education with better pay for teachers, more respect for our schools, and fully funding for our students, and even more funding for our students with disabilities. Fighting for good paying union jobs, including major investments in infrastructure, clean energy, and continued access to rural broadband internet. And I do want to say a big congrats to Morgantown for the first union job in that county, in Butler County, was just recently negotiated. So I do want to give them props for that. And I'm also fighting for real democracy through a sweeping reform package. It would end gerrymandering, secure our elections, ban corporate PACs, end Citizens United, and put the people back in charge where we belong. And I just want to say this. I'm not going to Washington to climb the ladder. I'm going to hold the ladder for the people who've been trying to get a foothold for decades. You'll never have to wonder where I am. I will hold regular town halls. I will answer your questions. I will show up and not hide behind screens. I won't dodge you. I'll stand up for you. And if Brett Guthrie is so confident in the job he's doing, then he should join me in a public town hall debate right here in Owensboro and let the people decide who truly understands what's at stake for this district. So today, I'm not just asking for your vote, but I'm asking for your voice, your energy, and your belief in what's possible. Because I still believe in this country. I still believe in Kentucky. And I believe that when working people organize, show up, and speak out, no amount of dark money can stop us. And we've even seen that just recently in New York. My name is William Compton. I'm the son of a parking lot cleaner and a hospital worker. I'm a teacher, and I'm ready to be your next congressman. Let's build something better together. Thank you. So I'm here to answer your questions or any concerns, and feel free to ask away.
Do you feel billionaires need a tax break?
Billionaires do not need a tax break. It's like saying someone in a NASCAR race who is already 30 laps ahead gets 5 more laps ahead before everyone else starts. They don't need a tax break. I believe that they need to actually be paying more in taxes. And we've seen in American history, the largest economic boom was when the effective tax rate was in the 90s. It was 1944 to 1963. And so I believe they need to be paying more and paying their fair share.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that the working class people are not paying more than the billionaires are, which is currently what's happening too.
What are your thoughts on universal health care?
We need it badly. I mean, our current healthcare system is not effective, and we are seeing it's bankrupting people left and right. A Medicare for All system, which is I'm a big proponent of, is cheaper than our current healthcare system just by simply implementing it. It gets rid of administrative burdens, and it ensures that everybody has access to healthcare, even if they lose their job or if they are looking for another job. It ensures they have healthcare, which is something everyone deserves. So I'm a big proponent of Medicare for All. We need it. I'm a very straightforward person with questions. I don't dance around the answer.
Do you have any thoughts on universal basic income?
I have thought about it. It is a good idea, ensuring that everyone has that basic amount of money coming in every month. it's a good idea. I would just need to look at the economic impacts more. I need to look into it more. It's a good idea.
Do you have any thoughts on how, for example, working moms, the cost of childcare, which you need good childcare in order to work, but if you're making minimum wage, what are your thoughts on helping, or what are some solutions to the cost or rising cost of childcare for working families?
I will say the easiest solution that I can talk about right now is starting that pre-K, the universal pre-K, that especially Governor Beshear is pushing all across Kentucky. That is one of the quickest ways that we can help with child care costs, get families back into the work field as quick as possible. I do also believe that with our public schools, if we give them enough funding, they can also help provide extra stability for families who need to go to work a little bit earlier than that. So I would look to our public schools for that solution, giving them more funding and finding the resources to where if you needed to go to work earlier, you wouldn't have to pay an arm and a leg just to make sure your child is taken care of. But universal pre-K is the easiest solution for that, and it's one that I'm glad Beshear and Lieutenant Governor Coleman is pushing across Kentucky. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on student loan forgiveness?
I think, let me say this first and foremost about it. I'm not saying that if you ever take out a loan, you never pay it back. That's what I hear all the time from people. Never, don't need to pay someone else's loan, and they keep arguing that. With student loan forgiveness, we are seeing people who have paid their student loans, but on paper it looks like they still owe the same amount they had when they first took it out. But they've paid them because of the predatory interest rates. And so I believe in forgiving interest loans with our student loans because of situations like that. They've paid their loan back, they've paid their dues to society. We've even seen teachers who have had the public service loan forgiveness, where you work 10 years in a low economic school. They've had that revoked because they haven't met the requirements per se. And so if you follow the guidelines for that and you've paid your loan, I believe that you shouldn't be in debt forever. So I'm all for student loan forgiveness. And again, I'm not saying that you should take out a loan and never pay it back. That's not what I'm saying. But these people have paid it back, and by the time the loans would be paid, they would have paid 3-4 times as much as they would have just to get education. So I'm all for it, all for student loan forgiveness. And we need to get it done. We do. And it's sad we have a representative that is against even giving people $10,000 of relief when he took $4.3 million in loans.
PPPs?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and yet none of those were paid back by any of those Congress.
Correct.
So
Correct.
I don't see what their big deal is about student loan forgiveness. They forgave themselves. They need to do nothing.
Yes. And you also have to think too with his PPP loans. I live about a 5-minute walk away from his company, Trace Diecast. When he got the PPP loans, he was on their board. As soon as he got the loan, he left the board so he could vote to have them forgiven. So he has tried to stop student loan forgiveness every step of the way. We need to do something to help them. Like I said, these people have paid their loans back and they're struggling to make ends meet. We need to help them. So I'm all for student loan forgiveness.
What's your thoughts on school vouchers?
They're awful. Awful. They're awful.
It's taking money from the public and it's only going to help the private
Yes.
schools.
And
they're not
it's,
held to the same standards.
Exactly. And it's going to cause the students who, again, need the most help, who can't transfer schools, it's going to cause them to lose the resources they need to succeed. I'm so glad that Kentucky voted overwhelmingly against Amendment 2 last cycle, but it's not going away. They're going to keep fighting for it on the state and federal level. But no, school vouchers are awful. It doesn't work. The one state that passed the school voucher bill, I think it's Arkansas, they're already seeing a shortfall in funding already. And they just passed the last election.
I mean, if a private school gets public money, then the private school gets public kids. I mean, everybody, and they have to play by the same rules as, if they want a different curriculum because they're private, I can see that, but
yeah,
if you take public dollars, then you need to be accountable to the public and have the same rules and regulations that the public schools have. Maybe you choose teachers differently or curriculum differently, but if you take public dollars, then you take public kids.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not what they would do. They would handpick the ones they want, which would disproportionately affect our minorities, our students with disabilities, and again, our lower income families. And we don't need that. We don't. So again, a really simple answer, school vouchers are awful and we never need them. Again, I don't beat around the bush. And that's not what we need, is someone who will.
Are there any businesses that you feel should not be for profit in the United States?
I need to think about that. I'm trying to think of a general terms. Yeah.
I'm making reference to private prisons.
Private prisons, okay, yeah. They don't need to be for profit.
No.
And the prison system is so messed up to where Lieutenant Governor Coleman brought this to our attention that prisons start looking at data from students by third grade. And they start tracking students' third grade literacy rates, trying to see who's going to end up where. Prisons shouldn't be that. They should not be that. Yes, we need prisons to hold the violent offenders, the murderers, but a vast majority of them, in my opinion, should be more of like reform centers, especially for the lower crimes. I mean, especially if you have people who are there for possession of marijuana. I mean, come on now. They don't need to be in federal prison for that. But they don't need to be for profit. The majority of them need to be to reform and get people back out into society as good quality citizens. And I mean, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone is just one mistake away from landing in prison. So it shouldn't be for profit. And I'm appalled that they keep trying to put one in Eastern Kentucky. But I'm glad that the people in Eastern Kentucky keep fighting it back. I am.
What are your thoughts on term limits?
We need them. There's no reason why Mitch McConnell, who he is the poster child for term limits. He has been, I'm 31 years old. He's been in there since before I was born.
Right.
And thankfully he's retiring after this year or this cycle, but he should not have been able to be in there for so long.
No.
I believe in 5 terms in the House. That gives you 10 years, 2 more than a 2-term president, and I think 2 terms in the Senate. And I think you should be out after that, which is 22 years if you jump chambers. That's my opinion on how many, but we need something there. We do.
See, I'm of the belief that if you got money out of politics, you wouldn't even have to look at term limits, because they complain about, what is it, $279 a year or $179 a year they get as a congressman?
179,000, yeah. I'd be happy with that.
Most
Yeah,
people
no,
would, that's what I'm saying, but a lot of them, they get there because they're looking to move up, they're looking to start investing, they get insider information on the stock market. That's wrong to begin with.
Oh, yeah.
If you got money out of politics, and you've got people that are willing to do a good job, knowing what the salary is, the biggest complaint is fundraising. Well, if you took money out of politics and they were given money to run, then you don't have to worry about that much. They're doing it for the job, and they don't have to fundraise anymore.
Yeah.
Now you got time to write bills yourself, not having some other organization write your bills for you and tell you what to vote for. You're writing the bills. You don't have to have bills where they slip something in, because that's ridiculous. They use that against each other. Well, he voted this down because this was in the bill, and it makes it look like you're voting against something else.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
If you got money out of politics, you don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah.
They've got time to read those 1,000-page bills now. And if they don't like them that long, don't make them that long. Let's vote on single issues.
Yes,
Yes.
this big beautiful bill. I read today that the parliamentarian, of course, the congressman voted not to pay Schmidt.
They overrode her.
Yeah, but of
That
course,
does not surprise me at all.
of
but-
course,
oh,
the-
sorry.
it still has to go through the Senate, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully,
Yeah.
they will change that. But I thought, boy, just when you think you're going to get a break,
And going back to your point, ending Citizens United is needed.
Oh, that's very important.
Yes.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
And I've been asked if there was one piece of legislation that you could pass through with no issues whatsoever, it would be ending Citizens United. Because
would
of
be
what
what?
you said. Ending Citizens United, because of what you said. If we get the big money out of politics,
oh
the
yeah,
dark
they've been
money.
working on that. Why, I get these things for money all the time for Citizens United, for ending it. But they never seem to,
There's a lot of politicians who will say that they're going to end it, who have been up there for a while,
But they're
but they're not.
they're
not.
getting money from it also.
Yeah. And so I tell everyone, if we can get that passed first, it will open up for more working people to get into Congress who will actually want to change the district for the better. And
we
then,
need a lot of younger people.
yes. And then to your
Like
point,
you.
thank you. To your point about the 1,000-page bills too, we're seeing representatives all across the nation going, well, I didn't know that was in the bill. I didn't read that. I didn't know that. I didn't read that.
I know.
And these 1,000-page bills are awful. They shouldn't be allowed to be able to vote on bills like that. But I will tell you this, if I was up there right now in Washington and I had a 1,000-page bill come across my desk, the first thing I would do was I would look at my campaign or my staff that's in my office, and I'll go, okay, we're splitting these 1,000 pages up between, let's say there's 5 of us. Between the 5 of us, I'll take this one, you take, and let's all read those sections and come together and summarize what's in there.
Right.
If I don't have enough time to do that, I will go on the House floor and I will tell them, I'm voting no because we have not had time to read this bill and consider the repercussions. And that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, they don't even know what's in it.
Because when the House passed that bill, it started coming out about the checks and balances to the Supreme Court, limiting their checks and balances on the executive branch. And then still in the bill, and it boggles my mind, is the unchecked power on AI for a decade. State and local governments cannot do anything to AI for 10 years. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. And they voted for it. And representatives like Marjorie Taylor Greene going on the House floor saying, I didn't know that was in the bill. Well, you voted for it.
Yeah.
Representative Mike Flood in Nebraska, when someone asked about the Supreme Court, he said, I'll be honest, I didn't read the bill.
It's your job.
Why are you up there?
I know. It's just mind-boggling to me.
And so if you're not going to go up there and do the basic duty of reading the legislation you're going to vote on, you don't need to be up there. And there's a large majority of them up there who have not read the bill, including Brett Guthrie, who is going around saying we need to put a handle on AI. Well, you just voted for AI to have unchecked power. So the single issue voting or single issue bills, we need that too. We do. And a lot of representatives, the reason why they did the bill the way they did was so they could use the reconciliation process. So when it went to the Senate, they just needed the simple majority and not the 60 votes. I'm sorry, if you have something that's not going to pass with 60 senators, it doesn't need to be passed. If it can't handle that, then that should tell you it needs to be fixed. You should not try and sneak things up underneath something else. You shouldn't.
Right.
Any other questions?
Isn't there something in the big beautiful bill to where he can also postpone elections and cancel elections if he wanted to?
I have seen that in there. I think they're trying to strike that in the Senate. I haven't heard what they fooled on that yet. They should be able to strike from the Senate. They should be able to. But I'm a big numbers person. I'm a data nerd. And so I went through the three big things in this bill that passed through the House before the Senate has started redoing everything. Healthcare, the Supreme Court, and then, of course, the tax cuts. So we're seeing with the Medicaid cuts, which Brett Guthrie had a 100% hand in, that 35 rural hospitals, one of them in Henderson County, the Deaconess, Drew, what's the rest? Deaconess, and I'm probably saying that.
Western Baptist.
Yes, that's one of them up in this area. But then you have one in Grayson County, Owensboro Twin Lake Memorial Hospital. You have one in Barron County, TJ Sampson Memorial Hospital, and one in Caverna, the Medical Center of Caverna, which is in Hart County. All kind of clustered together. This bill will cause them to close if it passes in the current form it's in. And that's going to cause the people, especially in Barron County and Hart County, it's going to cause them to have to travel so much farther to get health care. I mean, if you're in Barron County, one of your closest hospitals might be in Warren County. If you have a heart attack, that could mean life or death. If you're giving birth, I'm sorry, but that's gonna be horrible for the mother having to drive 35, 40 minutes to get to a hospital. It's not something that I'm ever gonna have to face, but I know that other people are gonna have to face that, all because of Guthrie's cuts in Medicaid. And then he wants to go on air and he wants to say that they're only gonna cut Medicaid for people who are able-bodied and need to work. And so I want to tell you, in America, 64% of Americans who are on Medicaid already work. 12% are primary caregivers and can't work because they're taking care of either their mothers, grandmothers, children. Then you have 10% with a disability or an illness. And then 7% are children who are attending schools. That leaves 7% of Medicaid recipients who Guthrie is talking about in America. $800 billion is going to affect more than just 7% of them. And he wants to say that he's cutting Medicaid because people are playing 6 hours worth of video games a day on Medicaid. It's heartless. And he's just grasping at straws any way he can just to help his narrative. So, and then not to mention the 20,000 job losses in Kentucky that we're projected to get if this passes. It's just heartless. And Brett Guthrie is not out here telling people why he is supporting this.
He's too busy taking pictures.
Oh, exactly. And I'll actually tell you a story that's not related to Medicaid, but related to his character. So, do you all know about what happened in Bowling Green with the young man who was taken by ICE?
Yes, sir.
So, for anyone who is watching, there was a young man who, 18 years old, who just graduated high school, and he is here legally, was taken by ICE and was taken to a facility in Louisiana. The Bowling Green community reached out to Brett Guthrie and asked for him to make a statement publicly support this young man, Ernesto Manuel Andres. And of course, he said, "We're just going to stay out of it." So the Bowling Green community had a protest in front of his office where we had a few volunteers go in, sit in his office. They recorded everything, and they did a sit-in protest asking for him to make a statement. Brett Guthrie had his chief of staff in Bowling Green. He was in Bowling Green at the time too. Kicked them out of his office, banned them from ever entering his office. And I was there, I was live streaming. I always live stream just in case something happens. And instead of coming down and speaking to the over 100 people who were in front of his office protesting, Brett Guthrie popped onto my live stream to watch the protest on his congressional page. So he would hide behind a live stream on Facebook and not come speak to the people he represents. That shows you the kind of character he has.
Sounds like Trump January 6th.
Exactly.
Watching
Exactly.
the drama and not doing anything about it. It's just pathetic.
Yes. And I do want to say thank you, Drew, for being here. So Drew Williams, he's running against James Comer in the 1st Congressional District.
Yes.
Appreciate
Yes.
you being here. I'm assuming you came from
The Henderson
Pride. How was that
It's
going?
good. It's really good.
Good. So, any other questions for you all?
What's your thoughts on how Doge is operated?
That should answer it right there. So, I do believe there are some wasteful spending in Congress. But when you're trying to root out wasteful spending, you don't come in with a sledgehammer and destroy everything. You come in with, what is those? Yes, thank you.
Surgical.
Yes, you come in and you look at everything and you slowly start to scrape away. You don't just destroy everything that's happening. You don't.
Come in with a bunch of auditors, people that know how to check money.
Exactly.
Not someone that's just cutting and cutting and cutting.
Exactly.
And here's a thought, start at the Pentagon. Somebody that hasn't passed an audit for what, 7
Forever.
years?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So the way Doge was handled was horrendous. It shows the lack of experience.
Everybody is for more efficient government.
Yeah.
But there's a way to get that.
There's a methodology to
This
this.
is not the way.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
What are your feelings as to how ICE has been run?
ICE has been run as Trump's personal police brigade. That was one of my thoughts as well.
Yeah, I know you try to avoid those.
It's just this whole situation where they're just pretty much taking anyone that they suspect could be illegal simply because of the color of their skin. And that's happening all across our nation. It's heartbreaking, and it is reminiscent of Nazi Germany. It is. It's terrifying. We need to stand up against this. And now I'm not saying like destroying homes or businesses or anything, but we need to speak out about this, and we need to make sure they know. You don't need to be coming into our communities, terrorizing these families who are just here trying to make a living and have a life, that are good, no crime record, and that are good members of society. And that's what's happening. And then on top of that, with everything going on, we're also going to see a rise, like during the first Trump administration, of students coming to school looking at their classmates and saying, well, we're just going to deport you, when they get into an argument, because of what's happening now and what is going on. And so that's setting the next generation up for failure too. So it's how they're running awful. It is horrendous, and we need to put a stop to it.
What's your thoughts on having the 1,500 insurrectionists pardoned for the January 6th attacks?
A criminal is going to protect criminals.
That's-
That
Yes,
that is my thoughts. He is going to protect the people that broke laws to try and help him win an election illegally. And so he has allowed these criminals back onto the streets. And we've seen a lot of these criminals actually reoffending. I know there have been cases where we've seen some sexual assault charges and things of that nature from these people who should still be in jail. Again, criminals going to help criminals.
Do you think any of them were hired as ICE agents?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, we're seeing ICE agents who are not wearing the official gear, but are just wearing masks.
Yeah, that's not right either.
And those people, you can tell those people are people who were up there January 6th and were just fighting for what Trump is telling them to fight for.
what about, like, here in Kentucky, I know, I'm not real sure on the minimum wage at the present moment.
$7.25.
I was thinking
That is-
7.25, but I didn't know for sure, but
Pathetic.
what are your thoughts on being able to raise that or make a living on minimum wage?
There's no area in the second congressional district that a family of two with two kids can live comfortably on a $7.25 wage. Nowhere.
No.
I know in Bowling Green, a family of two with two kids, both parents working 40 hours a week with no vacation, would have to at least make around $18 an hour just to make ends meet. And that's just the basic bare minimum. And that's in Bowling. We need to raise it. There's no reason why people should be working 2, 3, 4 jobs. And because they're having to work 2, 3, 4 jobs, we're seeing students in schools coming home. And like many of my students who will come home and they'll have to be mom and dad at home. They'll have to take care of their younger siblings. They'll have to cook. They'll have to clean. They have to do everything, and they can't focus on their academic efforts. And so we need to make it to where they don't have to do that by helping parents have that livable wage to where they can be at home and not have to work 2 or 3 jobs. That makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
What's your feelings on RFK being in charge of our healthcare?
We could do a lot better than RFK Jr. We really could. I mean, so many things that he has talked about. I mean, he has denied that vaccines help, and yet he, to the best of my knowledge, he took the polio vaccine when he was younger, and it's helped him from getting polio. He is talking about removing fluoride from water, which helps so many people get the fluoride they need so their teeth aren't rotting out, especially in lower socioeconomic areas. So I don't think he's qualified for that position, but there's not very many people in Trump's cabinet that I do think are qualified.
I agree also. Do you think there ought to be specific qualifications for those cabinet level positions?
Oh,
You
definitely.
got RFK, who's in charge, who has no medical degrees that I'm aware of, so why is he there?
None of them
He
are
takes work,
qualified for any of those
takes
jobs.
work, or whatever he's called now. He is vastly unqualified to be head in the military. He's never led anything in the military, so why is he in there now?
It's actually funny. My grandmother can never remember his name, so she calls him Hedgehog. But no, most definitely, I mean, we have the Department of Education secretary who is a wrestling
Yeah,
businesswoman.
right.
I mean, I made the jokes when he announced her that, okay, so next year we're going to start teaching wrestling 101. When can I give the people's elbow to my kids who aren't paying attention? I mean, there does need to be basic minimum qualifications. I mean, you don't want someone who, like, for example, me, I'm a music teacher. You do not want me going into a hospital trying to go perform open heart surgery. You have to have basic qualifications. So we need that at that level too. So they're not at all, any of them are not qualified for those positions.
Mm-mm.
And I will say in 2028, I've been telling people this. I know rumor mill going around about Bashir running for president. I would love that so much. But I think what I would love even more is to have the Secretary of Education be Jacqueline Coleman. I would love that so much because we know she's qualified.
Very good.
Any other questions?
What is her name?
William Dakota Compton. Anything else?
Think of any questions?
We're his staff. Well, we will say this much though, is that the fact that you are all here is highly appreciated.
Yeah.
And I know this is a busy time of year. But we're growing. We're trying to start off early because there's so much going on, unfortunately, at higher levels. So the more we can get the word out through just you guys here, it's a great start. My feeling.
Glad to be here.
And we're glad to come down here to Owensboro. And you guys are always welcome to come up to Bergen County and Meade County. We have growing Democratic parties there. People are just tired of the garbage, folks. You know?
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And what did Mitch have to say? Just 24 hours ago, but get over it.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, they'll get over it.
He will live to regret those words, folks. He will live to regret that. It shows all of you. Yes, yeah.
You see the video of him being confronted by the younger
Say again, sir?
You see the video of him being confronted by younger people about his vote on this big, beautiful bill, and he's just like, he ignores it completely. He was like deer in headlights and
Yes.
on the elevator. Just,
Well, and I mentioned him earlier with term limits on why we need it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see where he spaced out in another interview? Another time. He's sitting there and he's talking, and all of a sudden he just stops talking and just stares straight ahead.
he's
Silent.
trauma.
And again, we shouldn't have anybody in office who is going up to Washington, making decisions for our entire nation, and then has issues like that, or is being wheeled around in a wheelchair because they're 90 years old. And we don't need that. We don't at all.
Put your feelings on the Patriot Act.
So, don't like it at all. There's just nothing else extra to say. I don't like it.
When is the Congress term actually over?
December of 2026. Well, yeah, December of 2026, because they'll swear in the next one in the beginning of January or 2027. So we have this year and then all of next year.
To put up with deer in the headlights?
Yes.
Okay. Now,
But we see the light at the end of the tunnel.
I'm sorry, what?
We see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh, yes.
Well, tell Mitch to head to the light.
So. I think y'all have had the most questions ever, even when I go around talking to people at events.
I'm trying to toss you some softballs. The way I feel, a lot of them easy to knock out of the park.
Well, yeah, there's
Well, you
some
would-
that
You would be surprised at some of the candidates who can't even answer those questions right now.
No, not really.
So, but I appreciate y'all coming out here.
You're welcome.
I do.
It's very nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you as well.
The thing that really gets me is how so many people will lose healthcare coverage. Like, for instance, I like to use Shamrocks Hospital rather than the hospital near Elizabethtown. I will drive to Litchfield to use that hospital. And they're gonna close it. They're worried about that. Possibly Louisville, which is 50 miles. Or Breckenridge County Hospital, which is hour and a mile.
That's a long way to have to go in the back of the ambulance if they're performing CPR or something.
Yeah.
But the ambulance will force me to go to Baptist Health right there in Elizabethtown, which I don't want to go to because I think they have inferior care.
Another threat that we're facing also is the fact that they want to defund a lot of the medical services and programs. And they're also going after the veterans, all
yes.
you know. So this is a critical time for everybody concerned. Okay, so this gentleman up here that we're serving as his staff and annoying the hell out of him. That's our job.
It's what we do.
It's what we do. But we realize this is off season. Okay, this is not the campaign season. We got it. But better to start here now with you guys, and praise God if we can get 3 of you to say, hey, I'm gonna go spread the word of mouth, talking across the fence to your neighbors, down at the local restaurant, or even at the old bar. You start talking about this stuff that we're having going on here, and by the time the regular campaign season begins, it takes off from there. So right now we're looking at this as planning season. Okay. So we're honored to have 3 of you guys here, that gentleman there as well. And we see this as the beginning. We hope something bigger. Because, like she said, he said, you all heard in your life, got to start somewhere. We'll start with this. Okay.
Well, we have a good indivisible group here.
Say again?
We have a good indivisible group. Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And y'all helped put on that really good
Yeah, very
protest.
good group.
They must be opposite. We got a lot of members here.
Jesus Christ started off with how many people? I rest my case.
Do you have any concerns about, I mean, you're entering this race, do you have any concerns about people digging up, is there anything in your past that can be dug up and used against you? Because they're gonna do it, that's the way, but Mitch McConnell has anything to do, that's what he's gonna do. When Matt Jones was considered running against Mitch, he had a plan that followed him everywhere he spoke.
The only thing that they can bring up is the fact that I'm openly gay. And I will admit I'm engaged to my fiance, his name's Chris, and that's the only thing that they could round up on me. I hate tooting my own horn, but when I was in school, I was always a good kid. I was the kid who followed the rules. I was head down, get my work done, move forward. In college, I was head down, get my work done, get a degree. And even as teaching, it's head down, teach the kids, move forward. So the only thing they could throw at me is the fact that I'm openly gay. And I will tell
Well, they will do
yeah.
that, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So-
Oh, yeah. And at this point in history, what's worse? Someone who's trying to gut your health care or someone who is openly gay?
I've never understood why that concerned me whatsoever. I'm not gay, so I don't care.
Exactly.
Love who you want to love, you know. It's,
Exactly. But that's the only thing that they could dig up on me.
and you're prepared for that, so that's
Oh
fine.
yeah. Oh yeah. So I've never gotten in
No
trouble.
arrest history.
No. I have almost got one speeding ticket, but other than that, I mean, the only time I've been pulled over, I had things like a broken tail light and things out of
Right.
control, like normal things.
Good thing you don't have a darker tan, or you
Yes.
could,
Been deported somewhere.
So, but no, I have no criminal history,
Right.
and I mean, I do have medical history where I like swelled like a balloon for poison ivy, but there's nothing that they can pull up. There's nothing. So, I'm trying to think. Y'all pretty much asked everything. I appreciate it so much.
Well, it's getting pretty bad out there now, and I'm looking at things as, I think part of the Democratic Party almost needs to come up with a list of demands. And, you know, people are tired of this BS. We need a list of demands. We want universal health care. We want billionaires taxed at a high rate. I mean, no one, to me personally, I don't think anybody should be a billionaire in this country. Once you get to that level, it's 99%. You get 1% of anything made over $1 billion. That's still a hell of a lot of money. It's probably like $10 million. So, yeah, I think we need a list of demands.
Yeah.
That's what we really need more than anything.
And I went on to WBKO to talk about the budget bill, and I was asked what I thought about trickle-down economics, and I just laughed and said, "We've seen it doesn't work.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't work. If we're gonna fix our economic system, like the Poor People's Campaign says, you need to live from the bottom up. You don't need to live from the top down. And that's
Because
what
it's not going to happen.
correct.
The last person, Gary Surf was the last person that I have ever known about that said, I will not take a raise. And he was the publisher of Random House. He started that bookshop and was his publisher until he died. And then he said, I will not take a raise until everybody in my company has had a raise. Who else has said that? The top down doesn't count.
No, it does not.
got one trickle
There you go.
in 60 years.
Trickle down economics, what's that? What is that?
They get a bigger class, is all they do.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's pretty much the plan. Let's get more money. And that's it.
Everybody else is.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think we need to put those lists of demands. Every Democrat running in Kentucky needs to be pushing those demands. And if they have Project 2025, let's make this Project 2026.
Yeah. That kitchen table issue,
Yes.
my rent, my house payment, my groceries, my
Yeah.
interest rates.
And that's another thing too with groceries. I'm glad you mentioned that. The last election, a lot of people said they voted the way they did because of rising grocery prices. They're not getting any better. And these tariffs that he has put on, that he backs away and then puts it back, they're not helping either. We need to get at this corporate greed that we're seeing with these grocery store prices. I mean, Pepsi put out a statement that said during COVID, they raised prices. Coke raised prices. And then when someone asked, well, COVID's done, you're getting your supplies in easier now. Are you going to lower prices? No, we're making a lot more money and everyone's going to pay for our product because Coke and Pepsi are the only two products that are really selling. That should not be acceptable at all. Should not be acceptable at all. And so we need to address that corporate greed. And they tried to do that last Congress, but guess which side fought it tooth and nail? And it wasn't the Democrats.
Well, it's the tax, the way the tax system is set up as it is now. It's the middle class that supports it.
Yeah.
The rich don't pay theirs, the corporations don't pay their share. They like to talk about welfare cheats, but why are we still subsidizing oil companies?
Yeah.
They make a profit, don't they?
Yeah.
Every damn quarter, they're in the billions. Why do we need to subsidize that?
And then with the taxes too in this budget bill, we're hearing them saying, oh, you're going to get so much more money because of these tax cuts. If you're in the bottom 20%, so people making $25,000 or less, the tax cuts, there's estimated that the most you're going to make back is $90. That's before all of these other things are cut from you. But if you're in the top 0.1% making over $5 million, $290,000 is how much they're projecting you to save each year. I could live off of that for at least 4 or 5 years.
Right.
But $90 is not going to get you far with everything going on right now. And it's going to be a net negative when you take away their health care. It's insane.
Warren Buffett said that if the rich paid their fair share in taxes, the poor would not have to. I think there needs to come up, figure out that point. It's like, all right, anybody makes under 120,000, or whatever the number is, you're not paying any taxes. And believe me, you need to get voters to come out and vote for you for something like that. I mean, it's ridiculous that they have to pay taxes anyway. Make the rich pay their fair share.
Yeah. It's a good idea.
And never have the rich ever, to my knowledge, given anything to the workers without the workers having to fight for it and take it from them. That's why I said this needs to be a list of demands. This is not a list of what we want. No, we demand this. We're tired of putting up with all this BS. This is what we want.
The only thing I've seen corporations give to their workers is pizza parties.
Yeah.
Right? This one, sir?
It's pizza parties.
Oh, I see.
And that doesn't help much.
No.
But I like that idea. The list of demands and that point of if they paid their fair share, this people under this amount of money would not have to pay tax. I like that idea. I'll look into that and see if I can find that exact point.
And I think anyone working in Congress, if the government shuts down because they can't get their, you know what, together and pass a budget or whatever, and they shut the government down, the workers don't get paid, they don't get paid.
Exactly.
And whatever health care or social security that we, the people, get, they get also. Then they might have a vested interest in preserving those programs and not screwing everybody over.
No, exactly. I 100% agree with you. Because the original idea of being a representative is to have someone go around your communities, talk to the people, and then go up to Washington and say, my people want this, let's fight for this. And then come back and be a member of that community. Not to be up on a high pedestal, having everyone pay for everything. That's not what should be up there.
Mm-mm.
And that's what we have. It shouldn't be your entire career being a politician. That should not be it. And I'll say this too, when I'm elected up there, I'm going to go up there for a couple terms, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to teach. That's what I want to do. I want to teach. I love teaching, but I want to help make things better. So when I come back to teach, I know my students are better well off than before.
And that they get fed at school
Yes.
for free.
It boggles my mind that there are anybody who is even against that. And yet, Brett Guthrie voted to get rid of that. Not to mention, he's already voted once to eliminate the Department of Education.
I'm gonna have to have my doctor increase my blood pressure pills. I'm telling you right now, that's got to go up.
His voting record, when I speak to people around here, I'll have a lot of people go, well, he has the good of the district in his mind, or he's a good guy. And they'll go, well, he voted for this. I didn't know he voted for that. That's because he's not telling you. He hides it in the votes. I have a music teacher advocacy group. I respect one of them who's in the higher up positions. Complete regard, respect him 100%. And I was talking to him about running. And he's like, well, Guthrie's going to be hard to beat because he supports public education. Well, he voted to eliminate Department of Education. Did he really? And I pulled it up and I was like, right here, here's the vote. I'm going to have to talk to him about that. The next time he talked to me, he was like, you were right, he did vote for that. It's like, that's not someone who supports education. That's not. And it's because he'll vote against issues that helps us, but he won't tell people about it.
He wants to hide that.
It's because a lot of people don't have the time or the desire to look at things closely.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're a nice guy to people in general, then they just think you're a nice guy. They don't see what's going on
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
And they did it sneakily too last Congress.
Mhm.
They had all of these amendments, and right smack in the middle of like 30 amendments was eliminate Department of Education, which was put on by Thomas Massey, of all people, and Guthrie voted for it, but it was sandwiched in to where you would have to go and do the research. And like you said, we don't have time. A lot of people don't have time to do that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people get reelected, and I like to think it's what happened with McConnell, is name recognition.
Yeah, and
You know, if
money.
somebody's been on the ballot for your entire life, well, he must be doing pretty good. And I've heard McConnell, I don't know who Jones or any of these other people are.
Do you know how much money he spent last election?
No.
Over $65 million.
So again, that's why I say if you take money out of politics,
Yep.
we got more money for other things.
Oh yeah, that $65 million could have fed every kid in the district for at least a couple years.
Absolutely.
But now, and another vote that Guthrie voted on, we all know he voted for this big, beautiful bill.
Mhm.
Air quotes. Something else that's in here that he voted for and he supports, eliminating funds for the PACT Act. He wants to say he supports our veterans, but he wants to zero out the funds that help our veterans with toxic exposures.
Is that something they're looking to privatize also?
Yeah,
That's why I go back to there's certain jobs that should not be privatized.
Yeah.
Certain things that should not be privatized.
but he voted for a bill that had that in there. Wants to say that he supports our military. Was silent when they cut employees at the already understaffed VA clinics. And when asked about all of this, either radio silence or he'll say, well, I voted for this bill over here. Go look at this one.
Yeah, I wonder what his position is when it comes to, there was an Army veteran. I hope I don't get the facts wrong, but he had lived in the United States for what, 48 years or something?
But the one that had the three sons that were.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the-
No.
Talking
And
about the
he-
one being deported.
He self-deported because he received when he came back from the, what was it, Panama issue, it fell on hard times. He ended up getting addicted to some drugs. He got arrested, served time, turned his life around, got married, had kids, successful, doing everything right. But he was here legally, and he was told that he needed to self-deport or they would deport him to whatever country they chose,
Because he had a drug offense.
because he had a drug conviction. I
Well,
wonder what he has to say about that.
he'll say the same thing he said before. I'm not getting involved,
Right.
which is cowardly. I mean, that man served in our military. He served our country. He earned the right to be here. And to think to have them deported because they got addicted to drugs, which is an issue, instead of getting them the help to fix that addiction, say, well, you need to self-deport or we're going to deport you. That's abhorrent. He served our country. We should, and for any veteran, serve our country. Your country should help you when you come back. It's insane to me. It is. But no, Guthrie won't say anything about it. He'll, again, hide behind the screens and just hide in the shadows and hope everyone forgets. And I'll say this, I'm a loud individual. I know how to use social media. I'm going to make sure that people don't forget.
I'm gonna make sure people don't forget either. Because I'm retired, I have nothing else to do but read the news for hours in the morning.
Speaking of the veterans, they done away with the veterans suicide hotline.
Yeah.
They didn't keep helping us, so we had it announced.
I think I heard
I
some.
don't understand why you want to piss off your allies, north and south of us.
Yeah.
They're no longer considered allies anymore because the orange media is in charge. These are people you want to work with. They're your neighbors, literally.
He is alienating us. So when it comes for him to take complete control of us, no one's going to come to our aid.
Exactly.
That's what I think he's doing. And the fact that, again, Brett Guthrie is letting this happen and letting this democracy erode shows the cowardice that he has. I mean, we need someone who's going to stand up and look at Donald Trump and say, sit down, shut up, follow our Constitution. And those are nice words.
Right.
There's a lot more I would want to say.
Right.
But having a Congress who's afraid because they're afraid to be primary, the one thing I do have to give to Thomas Massey's credit is, yes, he criticized Trump, and when Trump said, we're going to primary you, he said, okay, whatever. I have to give him that. I have to give him
I
that.
have to give credit when credit is due.
And so we need more people up there who's willing to look at him and go, you're wrong. I don't care if you primary me. You're wrong. I'm going to stand up for what's right. We need more people who are going to be like Liz Cheney was.
Thank you.
More
And
people
there's
like
so
Adam
much-
Did
Kissinger.
you see what she suggested Democrats need to do?
I have not.
You might wanna look at
Okay.
that.
I sure will.
And I would think she should know since she was amongst.
Yes, yeah. So, but again, I appreciate you all being out here. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks.
And
for
please-
coming.
Please spread the word.
We'll try.
I do plan to have more. My goal is to have at least one in every county in the district, and then the bigger counties have multiple ones. So I plan to have. Hopefully, it's not on the day of the romp next time in Henderson Beach.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
That's
That's
it. The romp is.
I must apologize, we were late because we, don't be late, please. Mr. Herman's gonna go get some things. I sweated over a hot computer to make some handouts. I'm a teacher by profession, presently unemployed, chronically unemployed. Anyway, he'll be coming in with some things to pass out, most of which are about, how much thought was put into the bombing of Tehran, you know, that particular. And then,
It's
also,
probably this fall. That's
Yeah.
what we need to. We're too close on the pedo thing.
there's also the handout about this Canadian national who had a mother here in the States. He crossed the border to come and see her when she was dying, and then went back home, and then when she died, he tried to get back over the border to come to her funeral. And so, anyway, the details are in there about that, and it's, I get it,
He's the one that died in Miami.
I'm not sure. They're very, this is for handiwork. Yes. Oh, I see. He's telling you to be quiet and pass them out.
And I will also say on your way out, please feel free to grab my business card back there. It has all my contact information. Please, tell everyone it has my personal phone number. Because if I'm going to represent you, you should be able to contact me and not have to worry about reaching a staff member that will tell you, well, I'll get back to him and never do.
Yeah, right.
So has my personal number. Feel free to call or text if you have any questions or concerns. Has my email, my Facebook link, and all of my social media has the same handle. It's the Facebook link. So please feel free to go on there, share everything, spread the word about our campaign. And then if you want, I also have these bracelets that are back there too. You all are more than welcome as well. I have seen on the live stream at one time there were 7 people and it's just kind of fluctuated back and forth. So thank you all to those on the live stream who are watching. Appreciate it.